Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between attaxSocke and Azalea, or Azalea? Not 100% sure how to pronounce that name. I want to make sure that I'm casting this on faster. Oh right, hopefully you guys didn't see the time. Alright, so Azalea spawning as the pink Zerg player on the top left hand side. Meanwhile we have attaxSocke spawning over here on the bottom right hand side of Kulas Ravine as the red Protoss. So Protoss versus Zerg here on Kulas Ravine should be an interesting matchup. Trying to cast, or some of these games have been posted up on some of the replay sites, and even though these aren't the big names, these are all part of the most recent patch. So I wanted to cast these games, figure out what exactly the strategies were. Already we're going to have Peppy the Pro from attaxSocke moving out, trying to do some scouting, or effectively doing some scouting, opening up this Xel'Naga watchtower and then coming back down. I really like this decision, and really what that Xel'Naga watchtower, opening up that Xel'Naga watchtower does is it allows you to see if there's any additional site. You may be able to catch your opponent scouting out as well. So now we have attaxSocke moving across and now heading straight into the base of Azalea. So Azalea going to be scouted out by attaxSocke much more easily than Azalea. Azalea now moving out with this drone will not be able to see what exactly the strategies are until he realizes it is going to be a full cross spawn here on Kulas Ravine. attaxSocke opening up with a single gateway. I do not see a cybernetic, or sorry, an assimilator yet. So without an okay, there's the assimilator. So assimilator most likely gonna have a single gateway into a cybernetics core, and then we'll see what exactly the strategies are gonna be from there. Back over here, Azalea hiding the spawning pool behind this extractor. attaxSocke now able to see that spawning pool. Spawning pool still relatively low on hit points, so no real chance of any real rush coming through. Gateway now going to be finished warping in just a moment. Going to go ahead and try to perhaps drop a cybernetics core here, make it so that those Zerglings or any of those units really need to run by. Oh, that may be a complete wall-in. Yeah, that is a complete wall-in. So attaxSocke may be trying to go for a Void Ray push of some sort, or even use Phoenixes. I would assume more of a Void Ray. Will that drone be able to get out? Yeah, no, drone unable to escape. So Azalea pretty much stuck inside the base. No stalkers, no gateway, no additional units being, no units being placed down to really take down this one scouting drone just quite yet. So really interested in what attaxSocke is trying to do. Those Zerglings and those Zerglings that are being produced now perhaps will be able to do a little bit of pressure, and really attaxSocke or Azalea has to know that there's really nothing coming out. Oh, finally producing one stalker, so that stalker now coming in and producing another pylon, getting another pylon, and still no Stargate or Warp Gate. I don't see any proxy pylons anywhere out along the map, so no place to really hide any tech. So out comes the Stalker. Stalker does, I think, moves a little bit more slowly than a drone, but faster than a Zealot without that charge upgrade. So down goes that drone. So we're going to go ahead and have this Stalker once again repositioned here, and now getting a second Stalker as well. Going for a Twilight Council. Wow, this may be an interesting opening. attaxSocke now using the Stalker to destroy these destructible rocks in the back of the base. It may be a 2-gate opening into a Twilight Council and then blink for mobility. That would be one of the strangest openings I've seen, but I really like this play if that really is the case. By creating this wall in here, it's going to be very difficult for Azalea to really try to push in with any Zerglings. Roaches may be able to push in as well, but all he really has to do is just drop down one Stalker and be able to start fighting back with that. 3 Stalkers now destroying the destructible rocks on the backside of that base. We now have a hatchery going to be placed down by this drone on the way. He's going to grow up to be a hatchery. There we go. And we do in fact have the blink upgrade being researched, and that is also being chrono boosted. Second gateway, yeah, so it is going to be a 2-gate into a Twilight Council. So interesting opening, I must say. Zerglings now perhaps going to try to test that front door, and now those Zerglings are going to be forced to pull away. Those warp gates, the shields on the warp gate, and the shields in general on Protoss buildings regenerate so quickly. So yeah, going to be able to regenerate with really no issue. Another Stalker being warped in, another Stalker going to be warped in as well. So we're going to have attaxSocke finally macroing up a decent sized army. The warp gate ability, or the blink ability, should be finished in just a moment. And now that probe's going to move on up to that north to this position over here, put a pylon down, make sure that there's no Zerglings trying to take down this back door, and then perhaps try to set up his expansion over here. Harvester count, we have 29 for attaxSocke, and Azalea sitting at 24. So Azalea is a little bit behind in terms of the economy, but is still sitting fairly pretty, as there's now a hatchery being put down over here at this higher elevation. Excuse me, higher elevation expansion over here, so should be fairly well protected. Overlord also doing some scouting, a single Zergling or one Zergling keeping track of this tower here, making sure that no stalkers are trying to push in. Now out comes these stalkers. Stalkers really need to perhaps blink, and now blinking and able to take down some of those Zerglings that were in pursuit, so nicely done. So out come these stalkers. The stalkers now with that blink mobility should be able to do a lot more pressure the whole entire time. I don't see any robotics facility, but going for a quick Templar archives. So 2 gate into a Templar archives, we're gonna see some Psystorm use. That would be a fairly interesting opening, or I'm curious to see how that really works. I'm trying to go straight tech almost into Psystorm, and in come these stalkers. So stalkers able to blink on them. How is that stalker? How did he get sight? I do not know. That must be an issue with those destructible rocks, where you're able to blink right here, and then once you're able to blink off into one position, oh, nice retreat blinking, beautiful blinking coming from attaxSocke. Wow, that is, and you got to appreciate that. That was some very, very nice blinking. attaxSocke, I believe, is able. I guess you're able to blink up or barely get sight up into here. That must have been the case. Not sure how he was able to blink up to that high ground. I didn't see any units or any scouting units there. Now out come these stalkers, and stalkers perhaps going to run headlong into a spine crawler, and that is not going to really work out for them. So now these spine crawlers coming back once again. Both sides, both armies sitting on a fairly sizable army. 1,050 versus 975. Hydralisk and all these units waiting up there. One stalker blinking up onto that high ground as a sacrificial lamb, getting taken down and being forced to retreat. So yeah, so that stalker, there is this one position right here where you can blink. I'm assuming that's gonna be fixed by Blizzard, where stalkers are able to blink almost onto the top of the ramp, and then have the rest of those stalkers blink behind them. Back over here, attaxSocke now sitting at 45 harvesters, so income-wise, attaxSocke much stronger. And now in comes that robotics facility for the observer. The observer is so important, able to really blink even further. Zerglings now trying to take down these destructible rocks over here. They're gonna be pecking away at quite some time on those destructible rocks, and there is an overlord here. So the overlord, we could try to do some sort of nidus network, but really is not going to work out that well either. Observer is cloaked, so is permanently cloaked and moving out. One of the best detector units in the whole, or probably the best detector unit in the whole entire game. We have High Templars now being warped in. Now, if you remember the Archon warp, or the Archon merge, I don't really call it a warp because you're not really warping in anything. You're kind of like merging the 2 units together. So the Archon merge now takes 12 units of time instead of the full 17. I don't think you can chrono boost an Archon warp, so yeah, don't even try it. So more stalkers now being warped in as well. So it's going to be a stalker and Templar army being produced. Back over here, the Zerglings still making their way through one set of destructible rocks, has another set to go, and now Azalea taking those gold minerals. So those gold minerals over here at this high yield expansion, attaxSocke does know about those units, and now out come these Zerglings. So one Zergling getting taken down by this group of stalkers and some zealots as well. We should be chrono boosting, or that forge should be completed or nearly completed, so that weapon upgrade on those stalkers will allow those zealots to be able to essentially 2-shot a Zergling, and allow those stalkers to deal a full 30 or deal additional damage as well. Stalkers with that range able to come in and push out a lot of damage, and now Spine Crawler also coming in trying to push in some damage as well. And now in comes some Mutalisk. I do not think that attaxSocke is quite ready for this, but in comes some Psystorm. So Psystorm coming in, and those Mutalisks are all very, very low on hit points now. So all of those units are just going to be starting to be focused down, trying to be moved And perhaps if they started to be blinked, that would probably be a better use of that ability. And now one Nautilus getting taken down finally there, and that upgrade completed. So 11 damage per attack. The Spinecrawler on the move, and that was a mistake. That those Spinecrawler should be focused down. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between Azalea and attaxSocke here on Kulas Ravine.